So today we're going to be talking about the sticky beam feature on my AVL Dobby loom. So a sticky beam is the beam here and it's covered in sandpaper. So instead of tying your warp onto a metal bar and then the warp going underneath the loom, you're going to secure the warp to this beam by sticking your yarn onto the sandpaper here. So this is how you do it. So you're going to take your warp, line up your threads so that you can see each thread. You're going to lay it on the sandpaper and then you're going to wrap your warp around. So you'll want to have a long enough tail of your warp to do this, to kind of go all the way around your beam. And you'll want to double check and make sure that each thread is touching the sandpaper so that it's secured. And usually I just press it down here. And that's really all there is to it. So when I'm done with this warp, I'll take a picture of what it looks like while it's on the sticky beam, and then we'll get to weaving. So I am done weaving this baby blanket. It was a short warp. So what I want you to notice is that the warp wound itself around the beam. So the warp was not tied onto a bar and it was not traveling below my loom. It's just simply winding itself on the beam, which is awesome. So for this baby blanket, I used an acrylic yarn that I purchased at Hobby Lobby, and it stuck very nicely to the sandpaper. So it was an easy stick. If I was using maybe a tencel or a silk, that probably wouldn't work, and it certainly wouldn't work with this sandpaper on the beam. You can get different sandpapers, so to work with maybe finer yarn that you're using, I'm going to stick with this, and if I use a tencel or a silk, I'm just going to be tying on. Now, to my knowledge, I may be the third owner of this loom, and I don't think that anyone changed the sandpaper. So it's been on here for a long time and it's working just fine. I don't really think you need to change the sandpaper very often. So there's kind of a plus of using a sticky beam, but if you do need to change the sandpaper, you can order that on the AVL website. So I did see that there. So the sticky beam for me works great when I'm using a yarn such as an acrylic, so I'm sure that it's going to stick to the sticky paper. And for warps that are a little bit shorter, so for sure you wouldn't want to maybe use a sticky beam for maybe a 10-yard warp because it'll just build up and build up and build up. So I like the sticky beam. It's taken me a while to get used to because I have to trust that it's going to hold the warp in shape. But I'm gonna use it for quite a few projects. So that is the AVL sticky beam feature.